You're 17, sweeping conduit shavings off a basement floor for $14.20 an hour. 25 years later, the same hands sign a term sheet for about $18 to $20 million cash at close. Between those two moments sits a $220 to $255 billion industry, about 75,000 firms, and a body count of 147 fatal electrical injuries in a single year. This is every level of the electrical contracting trade in America and what it actually costs to climb. If you like breakdowns of how careers actually progress, like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Level 1. The Helper. You're 17, and the foreman points at a pile of THHN reels and says, "Move them." Florida pay, $14.20 an hour. No benefits, no paid time off. The reel weighs more than you do. You unload it wrong, and the journeyman curses you for it. Then he shows you how. You stock gem boxes, sweep, hold the ladder, hand bend half-inch EMT and a vise. 40 to 45 hours a week, more during a pour. The skill you're building doesn't have a name yet. It's just knowing where things go. Romex in studs, mud rings on 4 squares, Klein 9s in the right pocket. Then the foreman hands you a paper application for the apprenticeship aptitude test, algebra heavy, and roughly 40% of applicants fail it cold. You study at night in a chair that hurts your back. The test costs $20 to register in Texas. You sit it on a Saturday. The room is the same size. In New York, the gate is even narrower. IBEW Local 3 capped its October 2023 recruitment at 2,000 registered letters in a 10-day window. The Westchester Fairfield program opened 15 apprentice slots in 2025. You are not in New York. You're in a folding chair with a number 2 pencil and a knot in your stomach, and the kid next to you didn't even bring a calculator. Level 2. The Indentured Apprentice. You pass. You sign the indenture, 8,000 hours on the job and 900 hours of classroom over 5 years, the math of which doesn't sink in until year 2. Your first paycheck in Chicago Local 134 reads $20 an hour. In Los Angeles, $25.40. First period, 40% of scale. Your high school friends start a software boot camp the same week. By year 3, they're looking for work that no longer exists, and you're stapling Romex within 4.5 feet of a stud, while a journeyman corrects your spacing. Inside Wireman applications climbed from about 80,000 in 2023 to over 137,000 in 2025. Apprenticeship is suddenly the most applied for blue-collar pipeline in America. Classes 2 nights a week. DC theory, AC theory, motor controls, transformer connections. You fall asleep over the textbook at 11:47 p.m. and wake up with the page stuck to your face. The 4th year exam is the wash. National Registered Apprenticeship completion sits under 35%, for electrical men 43%, for women 37%. You watch 2 guys in your cohort fail the drug test in the same month. One of them had a kid on the way. Then it's quiet again. By year 5, you sit the Texas Journeyman exam, where the first-time pass rate is about 28%. You pass on the second try. The proctor doesn't even look up. He just slides the paper across the desk and points at the door, and the door opens onto a job site you've already been working on for 18 months, except now the line on the timesheet says Journeyman. Level 3. The Journeyman Wireman. You are 23, and the BLS says the median electrician makes about $30 an hour, or $62,000 a year. You make a little more, because you're in a metro that pays. Top decile clears about $51 an hour, or $106,000 a year. In IBEW Local 3 New York, the journeyman base is $62 an hour with a total package, pension, health, annuity, 401k of $132.75 per hour. In Los Angeles, base is $63.50, package about $99. Texas non-union, $27.50. Same wire, different zip code. The day starts with a service call. Homeowner has no power to half the house, and you have 90 minutes to find it before billing gets ugly. You pull out the fluke 87 volts. You walk the panel, line side, load side. The neutral on the second floor home run is loose at the splice. A quarter turn and the lights come back. The homeowner watches you write the ticket and asks if you're the boss. You say no, not yet. Then comes the 4,000 amp switchgear set on a tenant fit-out. The general contractor compresses the schedule by 3 weeks. The arc flash boundary on a 480 volt gear that size requires PPE Cat 440 calories per square centimeter. The fault energy in that bus, if it lets go, reaches over 35,000 degrees Fahrenheit, hotter than the surface of the sun. 2,070 workplace electrical fatalities have stacked up since 2011, and 147 of them came in 2023 alone. The occupation rate sits at 2.89 per 100,000. You torque the lugs with a calibrated wrench. You take a photo of every reading. You stand back when the gear is energized, and the room holds its breath. Nothing happens. Nothing is the goal. Now you've got 2 blown discs, a fluke that pays for itself every quarter, and a Foreman job offer on the table. About 30% of U.S. union electricians are 50 to 70 years old, riding the journeyman seat to retirement. You watch one of them limp out to the parking lot at the end of the shift and you think, that's the fork. You take the Foreman job. The gate to level 4 is a willingness to leave the wire alone for an hour and run the people instead. Level 4. The Master Electrician and Foreman. You're 32. You hold the license now. Texas requires 12,000 hours plus 2 years as a journeyman to even sit the exam. New York City charges $585 for the written, $530 for the practical, and another $500 for the background check. And you write the checks because the license is the choke point of the whole industry. The W-2 foreman number on your offer letter reads about $110,000. The general foreman in LA bills $79.50 an hour. In New York, the general foreman package clears $200,000. You run a crew of 12 on a $2 million commercial fit-out. Daily layout from prints, motor control center terminations, automatic transfer switch commissioning, requests for information back to the GC. Lockout-tagout administration sits on your clipboard, and if the tag comes off without your initial, somebody dies. You sign every line. The GC compresses the schedule by 3 weeks. Same playbook, different building. You either find the labor or eat the liquidated damages. You find the labor. You poach 2 journeymen from a competitor at a 75-cent raise, and the competitor's owner calls you that night and says, "We don't do that to each other." You say, "We do now." The money's in your pocket. The realization isn't, you're taking home more than the best wireman on the crew, but the boss who signed your foreman offer is taking home more than all of you combined, and he hasn't bent EMT in 15 years. That math sits with you all the way home. The next morning you start pricing vans. Level 5. The Solo Owner-Operator. You're 35 and you buy a Ford Transit Cargo for about $49,500 off the lot. Shelving and tools, another $20,000. A Greenlee 555C bender, about $3,000. General liability premium runs about $684 a year. Workers' comp on class 5,190 averages $2.63 per $100 of payroll, about $2,600 annually for a one-man shop. Commercial auto, another $200 a month. Total cash out the door, roughly $75,000 to $150,000 before you've billed your first ticket. In California, the C10 contractor license requires a $25,000 bond on top of a $450 application fee. In Texas, the contractor liability minimum sits at $300,000 per occurrence, $600,000 aggregate, $300,000 completed operations. You write the checks. You bill between $100 and $200 an hour. The diagnostic fee at small and mid shops sits between $125 and $175. That's the number on the invoice when the homeowner opens the door. Mornings, you write estimates and pick up material at Gray Bar. Afternoons, panel changes and EV chargers. Evenings, QuickBooks. 60+ hours a week, and your wife asks when you're coming home. You say soon, you mean it. Then a commercial customer goes net 90, doesn't pay, and the line of credit you set up at the local bank gets its first real workout. About half of construction businesses survive to year 5, per the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The cumulative SBA 7A construction charge-off rate hit 4.7% in 2023. You don't fail. You hire your first W-2 electrician on a Tuesday. Payroll becomes weekly. Revenue is still net 30 to net 90. Welcome to the gap. Level 6. The small to mid contractor. You are 45, and the shop does about $6 million a year with 20 electricians on payroll. NECA's 2024 profile says about half of all electrical firms have under 10 employees, and 42% earn under $1 million in revenue. You crossed both thresholds 3 years ago. Industry net margins run 10 to 18% typical, with the best operators clearing 20 to 24. You estimate in AccuBid. You sit with your surety once a quarter. You manage the experience modification rate the way other people manage their cholesterol. The construction industry divorce rate runs about 36.5%, 12th highest of 25 industries surveyed, and you understand why now. You stop missing dinner because of jobs and start missing dinner because of QuickBooks. You bid a hospital expansion at 8% under the next bidder, and the project comes in 12% over your number. The retainage on a $4 million job is $200,000, held to closeout, and your weekly payroll runs 80 grand. You make payroll. Barely. Then a Cascade Partners deck lands in your inbox. Lower mid-market multiples for shops under $5 million in earnings run 3 to 4.5 times that. You're at about $750,000. You hire a CFO. The QuickBooks goes away. Level 7. The platform and the exit. You're 50 and the company has crossed $40 million in revenue with 80 employees across 2 states. The CFO closed your books on time 11 quarters running. Your annual earnings clear $3.5 million. The phone calls change. EMCOR Group did roughly $14.5 billion in 2023. Their bolt-on of Miller Electric in February 2024 added about $865 million in annual revenue. Dycom did $1.95 billion that quarter. Pike Corporation, an underground utility platform, traded to a private equity buyer at about $5 billion on roughly 11 times earnings. The strategics are buying. The financial sponsors are buying. A Cascade Partners director flies into your office on a Tuesday and walks you through the math. A strategic buyer pays 5.5 to 7 times earnings for a clean shop with recurring service revenue and a licensed bench. A financial sponsor pays 4 to 5.5. You get 80% cash at close, 20% rolled equity, 2-year earnout tied to retention. You sign an exclusivity agreement and a confidentiality agreement, and you spend the next 90 days inside a virtual data room run by lawyers who bill $600 an hour. The buyer's quality of earnings accountant pulls every job cost report for the last 36 months. The diligence list runs 400 line items. The deal closes at 5.5 times trailing earnings, roughly $20 million enterprise value. After the working capital adjustment, the holdback, and the rollover, $18 to $20 million in cash hits your account on a Wednesday morning. $20 million looks different than you thought it would. The wire clears Wednesday. By Thursday, the news is on the local trade press feed, and 3 of your foremen call before noon. They ask the question carefully. You tell them the truth. Their jobs are protected through the earnout, and if the buyer hits its retention numbers, 2 of them will see equity. They are quiet. You don't take a vacation. You drive to the yard the next morning at 5:30 in your old Ford Transit because you still own it personally, and the new ownership doesn't yet. The basement that started this, $14.20 an hour, copper shavings, a single bare bulb, is somewhere about 600 miles south of here. You went back once, 10 years ago. The building was condemned. A 17-year-old helper is sweeping a different basement somewhere right now. He's making $15 and change, and somebody on his crew told him last week that the trades are dead. That's the lie. The body count is real. 147 fatal injuries last year. The divorce rate is real. Half of the businesses don't make it to year 5, and the SBA charges off 4.7% of construction loans. But the latter is real too. 80,000 firms. $255 billion of work to be done, and the only person in any closing call who has ever bent half-inch. EMT is the one who built the company being sold. You walk back to the truck. You start the engine. The radio is still set to the AM news station you've listened to for 30 years. You let it play.